Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Claire. I'm a contract librarian on assignment here with NOAA Central Library, and I'll be your host this afternoon. This seminar series is offered through the NOAA Central Library Seminar Program, which provides an educational forum for the presentation of ideas, research updates, and news in support of NOAA's mission. This is the second in a 5-part series. The next in the series will be in 2 weeks on Wednesday, August 18th at noon. Before we start, I have a few technical tips for attendees. Just so you are aware, you are muted and you are not able to unmute. However, if you have a question, you can type it into the question panel. And this is also how you will answer any questions throughout the presentation. If you're having audio or visual issues, if you can't hear the speaker or see the slides, please try logging off and back on. That will solve most issues in GoToWebinar. As a reminder, this is being recorded. If you'd like to revisit this seminar or view previous seminars, you can find them on our YouTube channel. Now I'm going to turn it over to Kiana, who's going to introduce the speakers today.
Thank you, Claire. Greetings. My name is Kiana Campbell, and I'm the Veteran and Disability Employment Manager from the Office of Human Capital Services Talent Acquisition Branch. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to Session 2 of the Library Series. We would like to thank you for taking this time to attend today's session. You have an important role as hiring managers, HR liaisons, and DEIA champions in fulfilling NOAA's mission while pushing workforce diversity through the use of various hiring mechanisms. Today, I am joined by my colleague, Christopher Barron, from the Office of Human Capital Services. He's the Pathways Programs Manager. I am also joined by my colleague, Andrea Sassard, Education Council Coordinator from the Office of Education. Next slide, please. Today's goal is to empower you to use hiring mechanisms more effectively. We plan to accomplish this by showcasing various hiring mechanisms, understanding the things that you should consider, or decision gates as we have effectively named them, and to demonstrate how these authorities can be used in a test environment. This session is focused on the future workforce, those thinking of how best to use internships, training, and developmental opportunities that flow into the pipeline of future candidates. To assist us with the decision gate process, Chris will share an example of one. Chris, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Kiana. So I want to take this opportunity to set the stage. I'm going to provide you with a car dealership analogy. So you step onto the dealer's lot. There are all models of cars with various features that they offer. To down select, you and the dealer need to understand your specific needs. 1, are you an outdoors enthusiast? Yes. If so, do you like to load up kayaks, or do you need to tow a 30-foot boat? Are you looking to go green? Yes. Are you in an area with readily available charging stations? Is this a midlife crisis car where you're looking to reclaim some youthful energy? Are you looking for that Mustang, or maybe a real muscle car such as a Corvette or a Dodge Challenger with a Hemi engine? These types of questions, decision gates, will eventually guide your selection, along with price on what car you actually select. Effective use of hiring mechanisms such as programs and hiring authorities is similarly guided by decision gates. The conversation starts with thinking of the competencies you need, then dive into these gates. Next slide, please. The Consulting Services Division within the Office of Human Capital Services looks to better assess your labor needs, starting with a focus on what competencies are needed to drive your current and future mission. CSD is here to help walk you through these decision gates to provide customized options, what we call a playbook, to meet your labor demand. Your business advisor will be the primary point of contact to help provide this playbook. The format for today will include a combination of presentations, use of case studies, and a practice session. You have been provided with a decision tree as a resource to assist during the practice component. So let's get started.
As a manager is making a decision, this is a great starting point. Decisions begin with competency needs and then an assessment of business considerations. Decision gates, which we've listed here as primary and secondary, could be, is there a billet available? Is there funding for the position? Is this a short or long term? And the type of work, is it project oriented or a specific task? Some secondary decision gates could be, is there a dedicated mentor available? Or is it a posting required? Is it limited or does it require a posting? Next slide, please. For today's session, we have provided you with a flow chart to assist walking you through these decision gates. There should be a link in the chat box for you to be able to assess this. We have organized each of the programs we'll highlight today according to these decision gates. Let's start by taking a look at programs that can be used if you have a billet available, which would be located on the left side of the tree. Chris will step in and show us how to apply these decisions as we consider Pathways programs.
So, as we begin to learn about Pathways programs, this slide provides you a snapshot of the type of decisions that need to be made prior to recruiting under Pathways programs. Your first overall decision is, what are your competency needs? So in other words, what are the knowledge, skills, abilities, and behaviors that will contribute to individual and organizational success? This begins the decision gates process. Questions you should consider. Do you have a permanent billet available? Do you have just a temporary billet available? Are you seeking an individual currently enrolled in school to complete a short-term project or provide administrative assistance? You may want to focus on an intern NTE or a summer intern. Or are you seeking an individual currently enrolled in school to complete regular and recurring work or specialized developmental assignments? You may want to focus on the intern career component. Are you seeking an individual that recently graduated with a degree who has the educational background in a related field, but may only have limited work experience? You may want to focus on the recent graduates program. There are secondary decision gates that need to be met. Do you have a mentor available to the participant while under Pathways programs? Remember, Pathways programs requires a commitment from supervisors and official assigned mentors to develop these individuals. Do you want the capability to convert the participant once program requirements have been met? Do you want the flexibility of when to recruit under these programs? I will be providing you information on each of these programs to ensure you consider each gate and determine which best fits your needs. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits of the Pathways programs? Can we move one slide? Okay, thank you. So what are the benefits of Pathways programs? So you can utilize both the internship and recent graduate hiring authorities to recruit well-qualified candidates to fit your needs. Interns and recent graduates challenge the way we've always done it mentality and bring fresh, new ideas to the agency. You can utilize both programs to attract talent to NOAA and create branding for the agency. Interns and recent graduates can help spread the word on the NOAA mission. Based on their experience in the program, they most likely will talk to their peers, friends, and family members, providing advertisement for our agency. You could target specific schools such as historically Black colleges and universities and minority serving institutions to assist in meeting your diversity goals. Pathways Programs hires is a great way to see how much potential a student or recent grad has in the field. You'll get to see their skills and work ethic prior to committing to a permanent or term position. You have the flexibility to hire intern NTEs, intern career, and recent graduates anytime throughout the year. Next slide, please. May have to go back. Can you go back one, please? There we go. All right, although there are 3 components to the Pathways programs, today I will be focusing on 2 of them. The internship, which is the track that focuses on the recruitment of students who are in school, leading to the completion of a degree or certificate program, and the recent graduates program, which targets individuals that have recently graduated with a degree within the past 2 years of the closing date of the job opportunity announcement. I will talk about the Presidential Management Fellows Program in our next session held on August 18th. So first, the internship program is a competitive hiring authority that requires a posting on USA Jobs. Candidates must meet the requirements set forth in the JOA to qualify. You have the option to recruit at any time during the year. You can also limit the perimeters in the JOA, such as I only want local commuting area interns. They can also be placed on leave without pay anytime the student returns to school and may work full-time anytime school is not in session. For example, for summer breaks and winter breaks. Next slide, please. So there are 2 distinct tracks to the internship program. They're the intern NTEs and the intern careers. The temporary interns, which is the intern NTE component, are made in 1-year increments with the exception of the summer intern program, which these positions all have a not to exceed date of September 30th. Temporary interns are hired to complete temporary projects, perform labor-intensive tasks, and to fill out annual summer intern positions. Intern NTEs may have the option to be converted non-competitively if they were selected from a job opportunity announcement indicating this option. And to give you an example of how NOAA utilizes the intern NTE component, we have some of our line of staff offices such as CIO, NOS, NWS, OMAO, and some of our staff offices. When they don't have intent to convert an intern, they utilize the intern NTE component specifically for our summer positions. And for example, this year we had requests to fill over 128 summer intern positions this year. One thing to keep in mind with our summer interns, they do have the option to be extended in 1-year increments, and we also give them the opportunity for non-competitive conversion to a permanent or term position within NOAA once they complete their degree. The second track to the internship program is what we call the intern career track. This is a long-term component of the internship program. The appointments are indefinite, they do not have a not to exceed date, and students can remain in the program as long as they continue to meet the definition of student. The academic degree must be related to the target position, and if the position has a positive education requirement, the student must be majoring in that academic field. They are eligible for the full suite of federal benefits, and they do have automatic eligibility for non-competitive conversion to a permanent or term position once they complete their degree. And at NOAA, our line of staff offices are realizing the importance of utilizing the intern career component. If they had senior level positions to fill in hard to fill locations or hard to fill series, we are now utilizing the Pathways Program's internship program to fill those positions at the developmental level so that they can have a career ladder up to that senior level to fill that competency need for that line of staff office. Next slide, please. Thank you. So converting an intern. So there are requirements that need to be met before an intern can be converted to a permanent or term position. And here is just a list of some of the requirements for a conversion. One, the student must complete his or her academic degree or certificate program. They must be a U.S. citizen before they can be converted to a career conditional appointment. They must complete a minimum of 640 work hours in the developmental position. They must meet the Office of Personnel Management's qualification standard for that target position. They must have at least a fully successful performance rating. They must satisfy all requirements stipulated in the Pathways Programs Agreement. If applicable, they must pass medical and physical requirements. Conversions must be requested by their supervisor. Intern NTEs can be converted non-competitively if they were selected from a job opportunity announcement that indicated that option. Conversions must be approved by the Pathways Programs Manager. I do want to preface that conversions are not mandatory. Supervisors do have the option to convert or not. And also that interns may be separated for any issues, including conduct, performance issues, or agency budget challenges. So under both intern tracks, if at the time the student completes his or her academic degree, you do not have a permanent billet available, you may place and convert that intern into a term position lasting anywhere from 1 to 4 years. And then you have the option to non-competitively convert that intern to a term or permanent position when that permanent billet becomes available. Once the student completes his or her degree, the agency has 120 days from the date the degree has been conferred to convert that student to a permanent or term position within the agency. There is one exception. If the student enrolls in another degree-seeking program, he or she can remain in the Pathways Program's internship program. All internship conversions must be approved by the Pathways Programs Manager. Pathways Programs allows managers to make decisions on whether or not a participant will be converted to a permanent or term position. It is not an entitlement. And remember, the Pathways Programs participants can be separated once again for various reasons, including your conduct issues, performance issues, or agency budget challenges. And I just wanted to speak, next slide. And I just wanted to speak briefly about some of our success stories under the internship program. The Weather Service, the National Weather Service, is one of our biggest supporters for the internship program. They hire numerous summer interns in various positions, but primarily meteorologists. The Pathways Internship Program has been one of the leading hiring authorities used by NWS to appoint entry-level meteorologists across the country. They also use the intern NTE component to bring entry-level summer interns into the agency and provide exposure to what the meteorology position entails for that summer period. So before I move on to the second track of Pathways programs, are there any questions regarding the internship program? Do we have any questions in the chat?
Just give a second. I don't see any right now, but I would just give it a second.
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Questions. All right. So I'm going to move on to the second component of Pathways programs, which is the Recent Graduates Program. Next slide, please. So the Recent Graduates Program is a one-year developmental program. It is a competitive hiring authority that targets individuals that have completed a degree within the past 2 years of the closing date of the job opportunity announcement. Candidates must apply for a recent graduate opportunity through USA Jobs. Veterans preference is applicable in the selection process. After completion of the 1-year developmental program, the participant may be converted to a permanent or term position within the agency. Next slide, please. So, agencies may advertise recent graduate administrative positions up to the GS-9 grade level or equivalent pay band. Scientific positions can be recruited up to the GS-12 grade level or equivalent pay band. Positions must have an established career ladder identified in the vacancy announcement. Recent graduate announcements cannot be advertised at the full performance grade level. One-year developmental program does require certain, they must require certain requirements for the candidates. When you hire a recent grad, they must be placed on an individual development plan. They must be assigned a mentor. They must complete 40 hours of interactive instructor-led training prior to the completion of the 1-year developmental period, and they must sign a participant agreement. They may be converted to a permanent or term position upon completion of the 1-year developmental period. Conversions to permanent or term positions must be approved by the NOAA Pathways Programs Manager. Next slide, please. And just to give you an idea that NOAA is utilizing the Recent Graduates Hiring Authority, the National Ocean Service regularly recruits cartographers under the Recent Graduates Hiring Authority. They bring these entry-level candidates into the organization who have recently graduated with their cartography degree, and they train them and provide them with career ladders to senior level positions within the National Ocean Service. Next slide, please. And I will turn this over to Kiana.
Thank you, Chris. I don't see any questions for this section as well. Now that we've discussed positions that require posting to USA Jobs, now let's consider some positions that don't require posting to USA Jobs. I'm going to talk about the Workforce Recruitment Program, and the difference here is that there's no requirement for a dedicated mentor to be available, and there's no requirement for a posting to USA Jobs. Next slide, please. So what exactly is the Workforce Recruitment Program, or WRP? It's a recruitment program that connects students with disabilities with an opportunity for employment. Candidates represent all majors and range from college freshmen to graduate students, and there's even some law students in there. They may be used to make temporary term or permanent appointments, and there's no grade level limitation for those types of appointments. So the candidates are selected through participating colleges and universities, and actually they visit their career center and have a discussion with the counselor there. And then they're interviewed by federal human resource supporters. We actually have a few at NOAA. And next slide, please. So once they register, they have to be either a full-time degree-seeking undergraduate or graduate student, or they could have graduated 2.5 years before the release of the database. Databases are normally released about mid-December of each year. So for example, candidates in this coming December's database could possibly have graduated as late as April 1st, 2019. The requirement is that the candidates must be U.S. citizens, and they can use the Schedule A hiring authority. So if you'd like for someone to come on and work on a project, they can, and if you determine that it's a great fit, then you could keep the employee for longer. Next slide, please. So now we're going to see, I think there was an issue with the chat. Did you guys receive the chat in the chat box. I think we added that somewhere. Okay, so now we'd like to test your skills by using a scenario. So on this particular scenario, we're going to refer back to the decision tree to see if we can help get some answers here. So in this particular scenario, I'm a hiring manager and an employee has decided to resign. I have funding and a billet. I realized that I missed posting my position through the NOAA annual Pathways Summer Intern Program, and I have an immediate need for an entry-level individual to update a website and upload information in SharePoint. Which hiring mechanism or mechanisms do you think we should use to fill this particular vacancy? And you can put your answers in the chat box.
Okay, I'm not seeing any responses as of yet. I see WRP, WRP. Pathways, NTE, WRP.
So the reason why you couldn't use the Pathways NTE program is because the Pathways NTE requires a posting to USA Jobs. The correct answer here would be the WRP program because there's not a requirement to post those positions to USA Jobs. But if you'd like additional information on the Pathways programs or WRP specifically, you can feel free to reach out to your business advisor. Next, I'd like to introduce Andrea, and she will tell us about some opportunities that don't require funding or a billet. Take it away, Andrea.
All right. Hey, everybody. So to start out, I'm going to be talking about student opportunities offered through education and training programs at NOAA. So I'd love to get an idea of what programs y'all are familiar with. So if your office has had a scholar or a fellow or an intern, could you pop the program name in the chat? And while y'all are doing that, I just wanted to introduce myself again. I'm a contractor with the Office of Education, and the programs I'm going to be talking about today are currently hosting the closing week for our 2021 undergraduate scholars. So they were not able to be here. I'm helping out. I've put their contact information in the slides, and I'll do my best to see if to help you guys if you have any questions. So Kiana or Chris or Blondie.
Yes, there's some responses in here. We have Canals Fellow, we have EPP, MSI, Hollings, Canals again, and we have an ONMS. We have MSI and EPP again.
Oh, great. Yeah, so at NOAA, there are a ton of student opportunities. Today, I'm going to be focusing specifically on Office of Education programs, but there are many different ways that you can bring students into your offices. And so, as Kiana mentioned, this is sort of a transition away from the OHCS slides that Kiana and Chris were talking about. And at the same time, there are similarities between these, types of opportunities. By offering student opportunities through education programs, you are investing in the future NOAA workforce and accessing a new pool of talent. But looking at this chart, there's some big takeaways. First of all, participants in these programs are not hires. So you don't need an FTE or a funding for the position, and the cost of these are actually minimal to the host office. But there are some requirements that are a little bit different. First of all, you need to have appropriate projects for interns, and also you need to have people in your office who can act as mentors. And mentors have to be feds, but you can have co-mentors who are contractors. So, and then lastly, I just wanted to highlight that the interns I'm talking about today are potentially eligible for the Conservation Corps Act Direct Hire Authority. So there is a mechanism to bring them into NOAA after they've completed their school. So next slide, please. All right, to start out, I just wanted to do a quick overview of programs in the Office of Education. So we have two sort of bins of programs: the Halling Scholarship Program, which works to increase education and training of undergraduates in NOAA related sciences. And then we have the Educational Partnership Program with minority serving institutions. And just so, because we talk a lot about MSIs. So what is an MSI? Minority serving institutions, or MSIs, focus on serving the needs of minority audiences and who make up a large portion of their student body. So the EPP with the MSI program works to both build capacity at MSIs and also works to increase the education and training of groups underrepresented in NOAA mission related fields. So next slide, please. So first up, I'm going to go over undergraduate internships. The office has the Halling Scholars Program and the EPP MSI Undergraduate Scholars Program. These are similar with a few key differences, namely EPP MSI Undergraduate Scholars must be students at a minority serving institution, while Halling Scholars can be at students at any institution as long as they meet the eligibility requirement. Both of these programs provide summer internships at NOAA with a NOAA mentor. They also provide conference travel and travel to do a site visit during the internship selection process. The EPP MSI program provides a second summer internship for participants. And then both of these are CCA direct hire eligible. And you can find more information on the OED website. Next slide, please. So for graduate internships, we have the Educational Partnership Program with minority serving institutions, Cooperative Science Center. So the EPP MSI has 4 cooperative science centers, which are hosted at minority serving institutions and that align with line offices at NOAA. So supported graduate students at these centers have to participate in an internship that can be 12 weeks up to a year at a NOAA facility with a NOAA mentor. Sometimes you might hear these internships called NERDOs, or NOAA Research and Training Opportunities, but these are the same things. And so graduate fellows have more complex projects that are better, because they have more technical skills, and their projects can lead to outcomes such as presentations, publications, dissertations. And if a graduate intern could be a good fit for your office, I encourage you to reach out to Natasha to learn more and encourage potential mentors to reach out to her, since there's a little bit more complexity in the planning stage of these projects. Next slide here, please. All right, so first of all, I wanted to just say that I know that as most of you are in the audience, maybe human resources professionals, so these interns might not be the best fit for you personally. However, we really hope that you can champion these programs and internships within your office and encourage the people you work with to consider hosting an intern. And I wanted to quickly just share some success stories that we've had with our interns. First up is Wimeli, who is a PhD student at the Cooperative Science Center aligned with NOAA Fisheries, which is the Living Marine Resources Cooperative Science Center. She worked at fisheries Galveston lab looking at a commercially important marine mollusk, and she is now a fisheries biologist at NOAA Chesapeake Bay office. I also want to highlight Adedoja, who studied at the Cooperative Science Center aligned with NESDIS, the Center for Earth System Science and Remote Sensing. And he worked with NCEI during his internship looking at soil moisture data, and he is now back at NESDIS as a physical scientist. Then I wanted to highlight one of our Halling scholars, Catherine Egan. So Catherine started out at NOAA as an undergraduate. In graduate school, she came back to NOAA as a Canal Scholar or Canal Fellow, and she is now working at OER. Right. So we have another scenario here, which is relevant to the student opportunities. So a member of your research team has an idea intended to improve tornado forecast. It's a compelling idea, but no one on your current staff has the bandwidth to address the applied math techniques and computer coding it would take to conduct this research. This project is highly experimental and not well suited to invest permanent funding or use of a permanent billet slot. After talking through the idea, it seems like the project could last up to 1 year and could be collaboratively developed with an academic research partner. What OED program may be appropriate to use? So just pop your answer in the chat. All right, Kiana and Chris, have we had any responses yet?
Yes, we have Hollings, we have Graduate Internship, we have NERDO, Hollings, Graduate EPP, MSI, CSC. Are your responses?
Those are, so all of the graduate EPP, MSI, CSC, NERDOs, those, they're all the same program, and that's what we were looking for here. The length and amount of independent work for the idea that this researcher had makes this less suitable for a Halling scholar or an undergraduate scholar. All right, well, I'm gonna turn it back over to Chris.
All right, guys, I'm going to present you with our last scenario. Rick has recently completed his BS degree in engineering at one of the NOAA partner minority serving institutions. Rick was a recipient of the NOAA EPP scholarship and is a veteran. During his second summer internship, Rick worked with the science team at your lab to develop new sensors for the lab's fleet of drones. While Rick did not study marine science, his knowledge of engineering has greatly enhanced the lab's capabilities in a very short period of time, and the team is interested in bringing Rick aboard in a permanent capacity. The team has a funded billet. Which hiring authorities discussed today will allow your lab to possibly hire Rick? And you can put your responses in the chat box.
Uh-oh. I'm seeing a lot of CCA, direct hire authority. There's also recent grads. Okay, Chris, stop holding out. Tell the people what it is.
All right, so this scenario for the CCAs, the people who answered CCA, this scenario was meant to allow us to highlight session 3. The correct answer is CCA, but of course, that was not covered in a particular session. The point is, we'll be able to make The point is you can link our student programs, for example, the EPP interns, to hiring mechanisms and use authorities that we'll discuss next session to bring them on board. Rick would be eligible for a recent graduate opportunity. He would have to compete for a Pathways Program's recent graduate posting on USA Jobs and qualify for the position. He could also be considered for an intern NTE or intern career opportunity if he had re-enrolled in a degree-seeking program and applied for the intern opportunity through USA Jobs. Next slide, please. And I will turn this back over to Kiana.
Okay, before you go, I think there's a question that referred to what you were talking about in your presentation, and it's what does an established career ladder mean?
Okay, there I am. So when you post under the Recent Graduates Hiring Authority, and we'll just take an administrative job for an example. Since you have up until the GS-9 level to recruit, you cannot post a job at the GS-9 grade level without any further promotion potential. And what I mean by promotion potential, it's a classified position that has a career ladder to a higher graded position that they can be promoted into non-competitively. So, for example, if you post a HR specialist under the Recent Grads Hiring Authority and you post it at the GS-9, the announcement cannot state that this person can only be promoted in any further than the GS-9. So you have to have an established career ladder, which are the higher grade levels. It doesn't have to be to the 12 or the 13, but it has to be above the GS-9. And that's from a classification perspective. What is the highest grade level of that position? So you can hire at the lower grade level, but you have to give that individual potential to a higher graded position that they're training for.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I think that's the only question I see in there for you. There's one question which was in here for me that says information on Schedule A is limited. It seems difficult to learn which disabilities qualify for Schedule A. Is there any resource that provides a definitive list of disabilities that qualify for Schedule A? And the answer to that is yes. There's a form on opm.gov, which is the SF Standard Form 256, and it lists those disabilities which are considered eligible for the Schedule A hiring authority. That form, however, does not need to be completed until the employee comes on board. They would have to visit either a medical provider, a voc rehab, or someone that can attest that they are an individual with a disability that would give them a letter on letterhead to be able to qualify for one of the Schedule A opportunities. With that being said, I don't see any additional questions in the chat box, so I will start to close this out. First, I'd like to thank you guys for your time and attention today. And on August 18th, which is our next session, there would be a deep dive into hiring mechanisms to onboard diverse candidates into early and mid-career positions. There's actually going to be a little bit of overlap because the recent graduate program would fit there. So looking ahead from that, on September 8th, we'll dedicate a session towards how we can effectively grow our current talent pool from current employees, as well as access external talent to drive diverse recruitment to senior level positions. Finally, on September 22nd, we will have a special session devoted to no-cost internships specifically for veterans. In closing, again, we appreciate your time, interest, and participation in these sessions. NOAA's mission is predicated upon obtaining a highly skilled workforce of STEM and business professionals who can drive the agency's mission. We obtain the best workforce by ensuring we are recruiting diverse talent at all levels. As hiring officials and managers, HR liaisons, and DEIA champions, you have the power to drive this effort. We thank you for stepping up for the challenge and hope to use the lessons learned today and continue engagement with OHCS to ensure NOAA is able to select diverse talent. I see a couple more questions before I close out. One is, so should I get a letter beforehand in order to apply to multiple positions? And the answer is yes. In order to be considered for Schedule A positions, you would need the documentation up front. And Chris, if you want to come back on camera quickly, there's one more for you. It says, regarding the latter, can any position be listed as ZP3 through ZP4 so that you can promote that person to the next level? Or is there a restriction that only allows you to hire to the ZP3?
So for the administrative positions under CAPS, I believe a band 2 is your GS9 equivalent. So we can only hire up to the band 2 if it's administrative position. If it is a scientific position, you can hire above the GS9 and you can give them promotion potential to a ZP4 if that position warrants that grade level.
Okay, wait a minute. I see some more. Give me 1 second. We OCM administer a number of fellowships. We are interested in providing our Margaret A. Davidson Fellows and possibly others some career development training this coming spring. Many of them are interested in potentially applying for federal positions, and it is important to note that the MADS Fellows qualify for the Special Hiring Authority. Who should we get in contact with if we are interested in having someone to talk to the fellows? We would love to have someone with expertise in federal hiring, and particularly using the Special Hiring Authority come talk to them. Is there someone that might? Andrea, did you pop back to answer that?
So I think that a great option would be to reach out to Alicia Sims-Reynolds, who's the OHCS coordinator for the CCA. Or you can get in touch with both me and her through the cca.dha@noaa.gov email address so we can figure out scheduling. I also encourage you to participate. We have a Student Opportunities Community of Practice that OED is coordinating. And so this has been a topic of discussion at recent meetings, and there might be some opportunities to work with and combine trainings with across programs.
Okay, Andrea, I think that answered the question. If there are any additional questions, I don't see any right now. Hopefully that answered your question. I'll give you guys 1 more minute. Nope, I don't see anything. Well, again, thank you so much for coming out and listening to us today. We hope that we provided you with some valuable information. The slides will be available after the presentation. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day.